Hark the bardic paladin, who sings and plays again. He tells the tales of glory, and weaves a magic story. He'll join you at your table, and ask you to share a fable. Heroes of humble origin, villains who must be fought again. No matter their skill or prowess, the people in life are countless. So we pray you heed our request. Enjoy this tale of sidekicks and side quests.
Episode 155, Tobias and the River Spirits' Spirits. Welcome to Sidekicks and Side Quests, the Dungeons & Dragons podcast that helps to put humans back into humanity and breathe life into your campaign NPCs with backstory and bravado. That's right, we're building a world, one character at a time. I am your host, Kurt Krenwelge, the Bardic Paladin, and I'll be joining Tyler Kamstra's table in the Levitating Platter. Hello, and welcome to another month's exciting episode, Spooky Ooky, for October episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests, the best unofficial Dungeons & Dragons podcast, in my humbly biased opinion. I've got an awesome guest for you this month, but before we get to my mystery contestant this evening, we have to leave you in suspense with an ad read. This podcast is brought to you by Plus One EXP and their brand new RPG Zine Club. It's a golden age of indie and small press RPGs. For the last several years, Plus One has made it our mission to help new indie creators and small press imprints get their products onto tables worldwide. Our highest goal is to create more sustainable and equitable pathways to getting games made and played. Now we want to take on our most ambitious project yet with RPG Zine Club. What is RPG Zine Club? It is a monthly membership subscription service featuring fresh zines from emerging and expanding creators across the globe. It's our way of inviting GMs, players, and zine lovers everywhere to invest more intentionally in the creative community. It's crowdsourced support without crowdfunding. Now, what are some of the features you have to look forward to when you join the RPG Zine Club? Well, you've got monthly releases with 2 20 to 44 page saddle stitch zines. Take your pick from story zines, adventure zines, or get both kinds. You can get print and digital or digital only of your favorite titles. Join the Clubhouse Discord. It's a section of our online community for club members to discuss and play new titles. Get the best prices guaranteed. You can select your frequency of how often you'd like titles, and you can get what you want and only get what you want. If you miss a month, there's no worries there. You can add recent titles to your month's order and get an annual surprise each February after your first anniversary. Get access to special content, including interviews, how to play videos, and special content for Zine Club titles. Do you like free pizza? Fill out one of the RPG Zine Club passports and redeem it for free pizza at events. You're going to get to encounter new and known designers. We source the best voices from across the RPG design community. We curate zines based on community interest and feedback to help you discover your new favorite creators. We are DIE focused. Plus One is committed to championing diversity, inclusion, and equity in our projects. Creators with diverse experiences make our community better. Zine Club prioritizes creating equity for all of our creators. And it's more than a purchase. Your subscriptions will let us invest more heavily in our print partners and provide them with potentially life-changing support by consolidating scores or hundreds of purchases as the club grows. So, if you want more details, please be sure to go to the website rpgzine.club, and this all can be found also by going to the website plus1exp.com. On that website, if you're making a purchase for a beard balm, a lip balm, beard RPG, or whatnot, and you're looking for a code to use at checkout, be sure to use the code Randolph, RANDOLPH, and save some coin on your purchase. Again, the website to get the discounts from me and provide a kickback to me to help support the podcast would be plus1exp.com with code Randolph. And be sure to go and check out the brand new rpgzine.club. All right, with that ad read out of the way, I now turn the microphone over to my guest and I ask, hello, mystery contestant. Would you care to introduce yourself? Tell us who it is that you are and what is it that you do?
All right. Hi, I'm Tyler Kamstra. People know me online as RPGbot. I've been creating I've been creating character optimization content for D&D and Pathfinder for about 14 years at this point. So people mostly know me for that. You might know me from the rpgbot.podcast as well. And if you're on such platforms, you might know me for my tiny videos on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram as well.
Yes, I've now formally really started to see your face pop up on the Instagram reels. So I was like, oh yeah. So there is like humans involved at RPG
Yeah.
Bot. It's not all just robots.
Man, pretending to be a robot on the internet was way more fun before generative AI became a thing. And then all of a
Mm,
sudden it's like, okay, I have to actually like be a flesh and blood person on the internet now so people don't think that I'm generative AI.
right. And you and your team have certainly been an invaluable resource to the community and the hobby at large. Because when we're rolling up new characters and we're like, I feel like playing an artificer, but like, what would really be good for an artificer? And then you have the 4-star rating of like, 1 star is like probably not very fun. 2 is like meh. 3 is like, oh, this could be interesting, and 4 is like, this is like the best min max build if you want for a character. So, what led you into to jumping into that deep end to just be like, all right, well, this is where I'm going to plant my flag, and this is what I'm going to be known for in the hobby.
Yeah. So when I first started writing character optimization content, like character optimization discussions online had started just becoming kind of a bigger thing, but most people were publishing their guides as forum posts, which you could never update, or as Google Docs, which would immediately be lost to the ether. So these guides weren't being updated. Everyone had a different style, so they were all wildly inconsistent. Most of them were pretty awful. And I knew looking at the forums, like if anything happens to these forums, all of this content is toast.
Mm,
So I started writing my own guides because I knew like, yeah, I want to be able to update them. So I put them on my own website where I control the platform, therefore I control the content. And like, I want to say 2 years after that, within the span of about a month, the official Wizards of the Coast forums and a bunch of other tabletop gaming forums all shut down at the same time. And
mm,
basically the entire character optimization landscape for all of D&D 3.5 just gone overnight.
wow.
And yeah, I was writing mostly for PF1 at that point, but I scrambled together a couple of guides as quickly as I could for 3.5, and just over time I've kept at it. So now I cover both editions of Pathfinder, D&D 5th edition, both the 2014 and 2024 rules. We just started covering Daggerheart, although I guess it's October when this is releasing, so hopefully we've got more than just the one article on the site by now.
Yeah. I was gonna say I haven't had an opportunity to play Daggerheart, but this whole mechanic of like rolling 2d12s and then picking out whether or not you want like the good outcome or the bad outcome, which I've kind of stolen for a moment in my game that I'm running right now at the time of this recording. And I'm just using it as a way to like kind of mix things up as far as like, all right, here's the combined total between these two dice rolls, but which is the better result, the good one or the bad one? And I was like, okay, there is some kind of something to this like 2d12 sort of a thing, and then hedging your bet as far as like, oh, is the good one going to be the higher one or the bad one going to be the higher one?
Yeah, it's a cool system.
Yeah, and so hopefully, as part of our good gaming diets, we're always trying to play and explore other games. But you got sometimes you just got to have your meat and taters with D&D.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so this podcast we're about Dungeons and Dragons and all that good stuff. So I think I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you the question: do you currently or have you ever played D&D before?
I I have been playing D&D for about 25 years.
Much longer than me, that's for sure.
I got my first core rulebooks in January, like the January right after third edition launched. Like that is when
Ooh.
I started, and I frequently have to go back to Wikipedia and remind myself what year that was.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, I didn't discover D&D until I was second year senior in my undergrad in college, and it was the fourth edition time because my first game I ever played was Halloween Night 2010. So that's how long I've been playing D&D since. I track it since then.
Well, I'm glad you stuck with it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's led me to meet some really cool people and have some really interesting conversations. So it's always interesting to get to talk to people who are more veteran than me, more senior, have more experience. And as you do with RPG Bot, you and your team, not only cover D&D, the various editions, but other systems as well. So for
Yes.
you in these, years of playing the game and being in the hobby, how for you in your perspective, how do you feel like it's changed, how it's grown, how it's morphed, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the hobby as a whole, man, it has changed so much in just the 25 years that I've been playing. Like we just celebrated the 50-year anniversary of D&D last year, and I mean seismic changes since then. The community has grown so much and become much more diverse and interesting and fun. It's so much easier to find people to play with than it's ever been. Like the advent of being able to play online with virtual tabletops has made it so people can find community, they can find tables, they can find like basically any random game you could possibly want to play at a moment's notice. The rise of professional dungeon masters means that people can like have a pretty nice side hustle running games for strangers, and people can always find a reliable vetted group to play with because of those platforms. And like the opportunities to do things and to create and tell stories and get those stories in front of people that want to hear them, like the hobby has never been better in my opinion. And I'm like, the fact that I get to create stuff in this makes me so incredibly happy. Like I do have a day job. RPG Bot is not my full-time job, but like I pick doing this for fun over almost anything else.
Likewise, I have a very rewarding day job that I do, and there'll be times where I see like, all the other great content creators out there, and I get that twinge of like, oh, but you could be doing more, you could be a bigger deal. That's like the little imp on
Yeah.
my shoulder whispering in my ear. But then I'm like, you know what? I provide a pretty valuable service. This is like a 20,000 plus download podcast in 6 seasons. There's some merit to this with
Yeah.
having more down to earth, serious conversations about NPCs and, getting to meet awesome people in the hobby, both in the hobby and outside the hobby. So it's just a way to like, have these cool, interesting conversations. And, so that's how Sidekicks and SideQuest starts. That's how RPG Bot is born and then provides so much resource help to all these people that are curious of like, you know what? I wonder if a Minotaur artificer, might actually be like the best build that I could conceive of because of this silly joke that I have in my head or something like that. And then you do the math and you're like, I mean, it could work, but maybe you won't have the best time if you pick this subclass over that subclass.
Yeah. And I love doing that. Yeah, I love writing the articles. I love exploring the combinations. I love seeing what I can build. And yeah, I just find it incredibly gratifying. And I know I've helped a ton of people get into the hobby through that. I approach the game very mechanically. Like I am a tinkerer, I am an engineer. I engage with the rules of a game first before I engage with the fiction. So like I look at things a little differently from a lot of people. And the mechanics are the thing that a lot of people struggle with. So like I can turn the mechanics into something digestible for people, like into a step by step, like here's how you do these things. Here's how you find the fun in this. Here's how you make this the most useful. And a lot of people, years of messages from people saying like, I could not have gotten into this hobby without RPG Bot. And I find that incredibly gratifying.
Indeed. It just has me thinking and wondering, like, if I don't know if you've ever done charity games or you just done kind of like, "Oh, I'm just going to do a silly one shot or whatever with my friends. And you go to your own guides and your dungeon master, whoever's running the game, is like, all right, the rule is you have to pick the worst build of a character. And so I'm just curious, have you ever played a game where it's like you had to pick in your mind what you thought like the worst 2014 5e D&D combo of ancestry and player class would be?
I don't think I have. No,
That would be fun.
that would be fun. I would play in that game. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm wondering if there's a future partnership there, as if Beetle and Grimm's can do uh, Purple Worm Faster Kill Kill,
Mhm.
where a bunch of level 1 characters go fight like some monster they have no business doing. It'd be probably more fun to do like the Misfits or something, like you might have to come up with a different name or something like that, but the idea being like these are misfit, not meant long for this world because of their combination of builds, and just see how far along they can get into a particular adventure would be very fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm just gonna jot that one down for me, and then we might have to circle back in a year and see if we've made something happen, perhaps.
Sounds good.
All right. And then, of course, this podcast, Sidekicks and Side Quests, we like to focus on the other, and we like to focus on those small moments that really help to make media and games and such shine. So, for the first of these questions, who is your favorite NPC or sidekick character, whether they be from an RPG, a video game, movie, film, television, literature, etc.? And why is this character your favorite NPC or sidekick?
I had an answer to this coming in, and words have fallen out of my brain. My favorite sidekick. I'm going to say Merry and Pippin from Lord of the Rings, and I know that's two, but they're attached at the hip, so tolerate it, I guess.
Well, there we go. The hobbits are often very popular figures to pick from.
Yeah. Yeah, like Merry and Pippin, it feels like they have the least impact on the story, but they see everything that happens. And they get up to some mischief themselves. They're there for important things. They push the right button at the right time to move the story forward. And honestly, it feels like if that was a D&D game, Merry and Pippin were the NPCs that tagged along so that like, oh, the plot stuck, I'm going to have the NPC cause mischief to make things happen. It's like, oh, one of the characters is about to die fighting the Witch King. The NPC stabs them in the leg with a magic dagger. Yeah, it's fine.
Right, but I mean, without Merry and Pippin, the Ents wouldn't have gotten involved. They would
That's
have
true.
just it probably would have taken longer to debate and all that stuff. So the whole plot well, I mean, darkness would have descended upon Middle Earth, and the Ents had been like, "What the heck? This forest is burned down." It's like, yeah, guys, you should have been paying attention.
Instead of debating.
Yeah, instead of debating, it takes a rather long time to say anything in Entish, don't you know? Oh man. Oh, sorry. Now just thinking of, Merry and Pippin and Ents, and like I know probably you could probably tell me better than someone else, but like the older editions of D&D, like somewhere in the very beginning of the front of the book, Gary Gygax or someone being like, your players will eventually want to play things like dragons and such. Let them. And so I'm just curious if there would ever be a future edition of the game where it's like, again, it would have to be like some sort of living online document to be like, okay, we're going to figure out the player character stats for like a treant. So if you want to be like an Ent, and then RPG bot comes along and tells you what the best and the worst class for an Ent to be would be.
Okay, I have stories here. Okay, in third edition, there was a supplement called Savage Species, which was specifically how do you play monsters as characters, the book.
Okay.
And third edition was written very much like so that you could turn monsters into a playable character. And it was mathy. Like there was nuance, it was complicated, it was kind of a pain. Savage Species made it a little better and gave you a bunch of tools to help.
Mm-hmm.
But we never got anything like that again. And like early days of 2014 5th edition, I used to moderate the RD&D subreddit, and part of being a moderator is like you watch the conversations and you see the same cyclical conversations happening over and over again, like, oh, I want to play such and such monster, how do I do this? It's like, okay, how do we solve this problem en masse? So I wrote a thing called Monstrous Races and published it on DM's Guild, converts the entire monster manual into playable character options.
Oh, so if we go over to that site and we can throw you a couple bucks, and now we have the ability to unlock anything in the monster manual to play it as a player character.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I didn't know that, and I got to go look for it maybe, and throw you a couple bucks and see about like maybe I can expand my list of player characters yet to be.
Yep. Yeah, it was a lot of. I am working on the sequel for the 2024 rules, calling it Monstrous Species this time. It's probably not out by the time this podcast releases because the monster manual is way bigger this time.
Yeah. Although you do have to applaud, 2014 version of the game because that's the one I'm in. I've cherry picked a few things from the newer rules. That I'm like, you know what? It's good. Okay, yeah, drinking a potion should be a bonus action. That's like a gimme. Like some
Yeah.
things like that, I've cherry picked. But otherwise, I'm just like, I've already tinkered the 2014 rules how I like them. So this is the version I'll keep and play. But yeah, I did like how they came out with Volos and it was like, oh, goblins and bugbears and orcs and, fear bolgs and, some of these other ones that you weren't normally used to. So then by the time Mordenkainen's book came around, it was like, okay, here's like everything that we've originally thought of. But then you came in and filled the gap as far as like, yeah, but if you wanted to be like a vampire or a treant or an earth elemental, now you can do it.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. Okay. Well, that was a good tangent, and I learned something new, and I think everyone learned something new. So I will have to go put that in the show notes for a link to that DM's Guild product. So hopefully you'll see the revenue just pouring in from that. So
I do usually put it on sale in October because it feels appropriate. If you're going to play monsters, October's the time to do it.
there you go. And then you can run a charity one shot and call it the Monster Mash.
All right, I like it.
Yeah. Okay. And then to go on with the second half of the kind of the theme of the show, what's been one of your favorite side quest or B plot elements? Again, whether from it's an RPG, video game, movie, film, television, literature, etc. And why is this B plot or this side quest your favorite?
Side quest or B plot? I'm gonna go for Baldur's Gate just because it's a good recent example.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked Shadowheart's side quest.
Okay.
The dungeon crawl is kind of fun, and like discovering so much about the character in like one very self-contained location.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, like major decision points for the character within that singular location that both affect the character and then also have a broader effect on the long-term plot of the game. So
Right.
it feels impactful, but also at the same time, like the game doesn't stop working if you skip it.
That's true. Yeah. Well, oh, we're talking about Act 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's parts of it that do kind of break if you skip it, but
Right.
like
Well, it's like you
don't have to
can't you
do all.
can't progress further unless you go to that place and deal with the night song or
Yeah.
whatever. So, but yeah, no, I think that's great. Yeah, like I did find I did find her. I've completed one playthrough as myself. I played a version of this podcast's character Duncan. So Duncan, the recklessly brave, happy-go-lucky fighter. I made him a battle master fighter with the lucky feat because he's, chaos follows him wherever he goes. And I basically did the typical thing I do in RPGs, which is I found every side quest. I explored
Yep.
every nook and cranny. I wanted to loot everything that I could. And then most of it I didn't use, and I just kept it in my trunk at camp because, like, I may need it later. But uh, my good friend and I were doing a cross-platform play where I randomly rolled a new character and she made a new character. And so we're both slowly progressing through the game where she's still working on her original first playthrough. And I'm like, okay, yeah, well, if we do this, we can maybe do this. And so it is interesting how, that gem has now come along and I finally have a copy of it. And yeah, I could definitely see the huge replay value. And it gives me a forever DM kind of an itch scratched as far as like, well, I want to play D&D, but none of my friends are running. I guess I'll just fire up Baldur's Gate 3 for a little while and, play D&D and then sigh heavily when Shadowheart yet again misses an attack. I don't know what her deal is. Is it just the programmers admit to like making her always have disadvantage?
She has 13 strength.
Oh.
Yeah. Like the Shadowheart is not built to be using weapons. Don't have her use weapons. Like she's built as a caster. The default stats for clerics in Baldur's Gate 3 are straight garbage. Don't use them. Fix your ability scores. Like any cleric using Shadowheart's stats will miss every one of their attacks.
Interesting. That's good to know. So my friend and I will have to convene and we'll have to decide at the next level up, hey, are we going to increase her ability scores? Or are we going to give her another feat to,
Oh,
help her out?
well, just go to Withers and respec.
Or, oh yeah, that's another good point. I never did that. Yeah. So it's just like, yeah, I just like Withers hung out in camp and he was cool and stuff like that. And of course with Duncan, I always reloaded. If anyone died, I was just like, I'm just going to reload a save. I'm not going to bother with, I'm going to play through it as if Duncan had had survived by the skin of his teeth and never had an accident or a catastrophic failure whatsoever. Saves coming. There we
Yeah.
go.
There's nothing wrong with it. The game lets you resurrect everyone anyway.
True. All right. Brilliant answer. And now we're rounding here into the final question of the personal interview section of the episode. Tyler, what are you passionate about and why?
What am I passionate about? Character optimization, apparently. Why? Because, I've never had a good answer for that one, honestly. I just kind of latched onto it, and it's fun. I enjoy it. I like tinkering. Like I said, I'm an engineer at heart. I approach games mechanics first, and I just find it very fun to see what I can do with stuff.
I was going to ask, because I know I've had other guests of the show talk about their experience with GURPS and how GURPS is supposed to be like this very crunchy mathematical game. Are you like a GURPS guy? Do you play a lot of GURPS in your off season, if you will?
No, I have never been in a game of GURPS. I have tried to get my friends to play it a couple of times, and they have opened the book and been like, "No, not even this group, man. No." It's like, but
Well,
come on,
I
guys.
wish that for you. I hope that one day you can find that gaming group. Maybe you go to somewhere like Start Playing Games or wherever, and you find that that group insane enough to run GURPS online. You're like, hold on, I'm the guy from RPG Bot. Don't you worry, I can optimize this. I will find a solution.
Someday it'll happen. It might have to be at a convention someday.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, and so we've made it through the personal interview section, and now it's time to head into some NPC creation.
All right.
And NPC creation is brought to you by you, the podcast audience, and our patrons from Patreon. So now is the time of the show where we give a shout out and a hurrah to our comfortable patrons and above. So, hurrah! Yeah, I've got my Dr. Pepper Blackberry here, rocking it tonight. So, of course, yes, cheers. So, all of you are wealthy patrons, Anson Jablinski and good old mom and dad, cheers. Again, this is for everybody who donates at least $2 or more a month. All the folks I named, they're wealthy tier patrons, which means they get to introduce an element of chance to our random tables that we have here in NPC creation. We might get to hear some of their responses used. And I could gab on and on about Ko-fis and Patreons and all this stuff, but you know what to do. You know to go to the show notes below. You know to go to the podcast website or just go directly to patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests to learn more about the 4 different tiers of accommodations we have awaiting for you within the levitating platter. Help us to grow and expand our operations in this demi-plane and worlds beyond. All right. So now that song and dance is done, we're here at the fun part of the podcast. We get to make up an NPC. The idea being that this is going to be a character that, like your fabled min-maxing optimization tables that people, nerds of all stripes across the web go to. Well, now this can be an NPC that any dungeon master or any player character who needs just someone to put in their backstory or put in their game, they can depend on Tyler. So you have chosen the path of randomization today. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I love a random table.
Perfect. Okay, so we've got all the standard array of dice. We have our tables. I just need to make a quick fill in here because I realized the last time I had not changed some things around, but we're good to go. So we begin NPC creation with the task of figuring out the name of our character. And the way that we determine names is we roll a d20 and we see what we get.
I've rolled 3.
A 3. Well, your answer was provided by our previous guest, Matt from Roleplay Chat, the other cool podcast, and a good guy from Canada, Tobias.
Okay, Tobias.
So we have Tobias, Tobias, Tobias. All right. So off to a good start. And then let's see the next question. What is the ancestry of our character? This is where it can certainly swing wild, like you with the monstrous ancestry tables and such. Let's roll a D100 or 2D10s and see what sort of ancestry we land on today for Tobias.
All right, what did we get? We got a 52.
52 as I scroll and check the list. Okay, so here we go. Dryad or naiad, any kind, conclave, ravnica, or riverine. So basically anything in the camp of like dryad, naiad, nereid, riverine, sort of in that camp. So Tobias is some sort of like spirit creature of nature.
Okay.
Of that, of however you figure that to be.
I want to say Tobias is some kind of river spirit, like a naiad. Like,
okay. All right, naiad. Okay, Tobias the naiad. Okay. And then let's see. What is the job or role in society for Tobias? Because you know what? Maybe Tobias up and moved to the city. Who knows? But the way we determine this is we roll just a regular D10 and we figure out what their job or role in society is.
alrighty. I got a 7.
7. All right. Well, this is actually, I think it kind of fits. This was provided by MK, who was one of my audience members when I did my live recording at FateCon last spring. A brewer. So
Interesting.
Tobias is a brewer, so a river spirit who makes alcohols.
All right, a river spirit that makes spirits.
There we go. Yes, there we go. On the nose. And then the last thing here that we get to roll a dice for before we take a slight pause on it, we got to figure out the age range category of this character. And so we randomize this with a D8 roll to kind of give us a skew of like how young or how old or ancient the character is.
Alrighty. Oh, whoop. And it's on the floor. 8. Oh, boy.
Immortal. So
perfect.
There we go. Perfect. All right. And now, with these details in mind, when we think of Tobias the Naiad, who's a brewer and is immortal, can you describe the physical appearance of this character?
In my head, Tobias is small, like slightly small for a human, slender, kind of like walks with kind of a weird gait, like watery, I guess. Doesn't
kind of
so much
sloshes around.
Exactly.
Like Jack Sparrow or something like that.
Yes, exactly. Could be the spirits, could be that they're a river spirit. Who can say? Yeah, like what kind of clothes does a river spirit wear? Do they wear any? I figure they've probably adopted whatever the local like humanoid fashion was, but they're immortal, so maybe they're just a couple centuries out of date.
True, yeah. I pulled up the Forgotten Realms wiki over here, and not to be that guy on that podcast that just read quotes other wiki pages or something like that. But let's see. Naiads rarely seen water spirits that lived in the sisters, along with nereids, sylphs, pixies, and leprechauns. And let's see, is there anything about their history? Wow, it's like a really scant, short article on the old Forgotten Realms wiki. But it does say that naiads, are an introduction to 5th edition, challenge rating 2. So at least looking at the art that is presented here, it does look like basically like a humanoid water-looking spirit, and like actual water, and it looks like lily pads and vegetation and then like the bubbling turbulence of the water is helping to give some color. So do you think Tobias appears like kind of like Elemental the movie, but like if basically take a human but make them like all water, and then that's Tobias?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I had in my head. Yeah, maybe they are trying to wear human clothes and they just like they're perpetually wet because Tobias is made of water.
Just wet clothes all the time. It's like, why does it's like you get the slapping of the clothes as they like smack on stuff. Like he's putting his arms down on the bar to like, and you just hear the sound of like wet sleeves hitting the bar or whatever. So,
everything perpetually damp.
Yeah, just a very damp, moist, wet place. I mean, granted, you do want a brewing operation to have like that, but I don't know, kind of interesting if, also the heat around, because you got to boil the water to make the alcoholic vapors and condense it and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious, like how industrial are we going as far as Tobias is concerned, or is it more like, is it like dwarven ale operations in a big city along a river, or is it more like in the hills making moonshine at a little water mill by the river, and I'm just the guy that lives there. I brew the spirits and all that kind of stuff.
I think this would be really fun to go more that route, like a little off the beaten path. Maybe it was an inn that was abandoned and Tobias found it by accident and just found the, like, oh yeah, here's this interesting building. Look, I can make this weird alcohol stuff with these cool machines. Like, oh, there's people who want to come stay here. Sure, I guess I'm an innkeeper now.
Okay, so you want to expand the brewery even further into like just
Maybe.
full-fledged like innkeeper as well. Or maybe he's in charge of the brewing operations. Maybe other mortals have come along and he's a fey water spirit and he's just kind of like, well, I'm more interested in like making alcoholic spirits. You all can, people like it here. Okay, you figure out how to run all that. I just make sure that the river's good and I make sure that all the alcohol is good, and then everything else can be fine, sort of a thing.
I like it. That's perfect.
And of course, he's always wearing the wet clothes. And maybe
Always.
the other people who are on his staff are just telling him like, Tobias, you don't really have to do that. Like, you can just like. He's like, no, I insist. I have to match the ambiance of this place.
It's a uniform.
Yes. All right. Well, I was in my head, I was just thinking of like, okay, I know I've done it with other guests of the podcast where I'm like, I don't know, are you interested in inventing a couple of other characters who also work at this inn/brewery? You could just go back real quick and roll D100 a couple times if you wanted to like get some real random characters working at the inn with Tobias. Maybe even borrow a couple more names from the list too. I don't know. It's up to you. It's Halloween time. We can make this a spooky treat. Why not? Or if you're
Okay.
just like, no, I already have an idea of who's here, then you could do that too.
I have ideas. Okay, I've got two groups of NPCs who are here. So there's the regular like mortals who live in the area, and I'm picturing halflings. Like just so many halflings. And it's never the same halfling. Whenever you turn and you ask for something, or like you go to the inn, or like you go to purchase something, never the same halfling twice. It is a very, very dense, tightly knit family. And every time you turn around, one of them runs off and another one steps in. So it's just the halflings.
Okay. I like
And
that.
then,
Yeah, that's very fun. Like and they're all like maybe like Irish or Italian, or kind of like, oh, there's a lot of them and they all, because they're all a family and they all look very similar to each other. It's like, wait a minute, didn't you have a mustache? It's like, no, that's my cousin. And then you turn around and then suddenly a guy with a beard is there. He's like, what do you want? It's like, wait, I was talking to the other guy.
exactly. And then you
Okay.
never have to name them either.
Okay, yeah, you just describe a different halfling. Like first it was a dude you were talking to, now a lady has shown up.
Yeah. All right,
Okay.
and then second group of NPCs, the spirits. So we have a river spirit making alcoholic spirits, and now we have the spirits of alcoholics.
Oh, okay. And so then any other interesting, mortal creature that you want to stick in there that are like, drunk off of or really in love with Tobias's moonshine or whatnot. Uh,
Yeah.
they just hang around.
Or maybe just spirits of the dead on their way to the afterlife stop in for a drink with Tobias. Like, quick sip, off to the afterlife.
Ooh, that is fun, especially with Halloween. It's like, yeah, it's like cozy spooky. It's like there's ghosts in the corner, and it's like they're all partaking of like this spirit, fey water spirit infused spirit that they're actually able to interact with, and then they're like, oh, this warms me up, and then they just kind of like pass on and go to their next stage of life in the afterlife.
Perfect. Cozy,
That's
spooky.
cool.
I like it. Yeah.
Cozy, spooky. I'm sure some indie game developer has already done that, and they're going to hear this episode, and then they're going to have to give us royalties because they've invented the next isekai, game or whatever, where it's like you're Tobias, the water naiad spirit who runs a place with a bunch of halflings, and then ghosts that show up, and then the other random travelers that will come in on occasion. But perfect. All right, I'm loving this. All right, and that's all to say. So we've got the physical description, and certainly any other physical notes that, since we've been brainstorming and talking and yakking back and forth, you could let me know. But certainly we want to know, for role-playing purposes, what 3 adjectives do you think best describe Tobias as a character?
3 adjectives. Okay, moist.
I'm sorry, we may have to do a trigger warning or for something for that word. I know some people don't like it. I'm fine with it, but it's like, okay, yeah, that's apt. Okay.
I'm thinking, all right, so he's always wet. River spirit, wet. Where's the wet clothes? So moist, damp, pick one.
Okay.
I see him as like jovial, like friendly, bubbly, like there to make friends. He's immortal. As long as the river's there, he's fine. So there's not really anything you can do to harm or inconvenience him in any long-term way. So like he friendly to everybody, never feels threatened, never feels worried, not a care in the world. So moist, jovial, and then I want him to have like a flaw. I think
that's always good, of like a 1-2 combo, like a 1-2 and then a like a hook of like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that.
Alien. There we go. Like, you're immortal. You're a river spirit. No matter how much time you spend with mortals, wearing their clothes, serving their drinks, maybe even eating their food, no matter how much time you spend with them, you'll never quite get them, just because your perspective is so different from theirs. So like you talk to Tobias and you say like, oh, we need to do this thing and it has to happen within like a week or two, or something really bad happens, like, oh man, that sucks, I'll be here in 1,000 years. So like a week or two is like a blink for me. So like, do you want alcohol? What can I do for you?
Yeah, and you say alien, and my literal thinking is just being like, oh, he was in the Feywild for so long, and then he just kind of like stumbled into the mundane world, and he found this river, and he's like, well, there's no other spirit here taking care of it, so I'll do it. And oh, like there's this interesting building, and oh, I remember like the satyrs and all the revelers along the banks in the Feywild, getting drunk and wild and tipsy and all that stuff. And hey, wouldn't that be fun to have that sort of a kind of a thing going on once again? And that's maybe like the motivation for Tobias wanting to like start this inn back up, because of his alien memories of a different realm of existence. That, in the mundane world, it's like, he's just like, oh, yesterday, I was just doing this and now I'm here. But then like when people do the math, they're like, wait a minute, you're talking about like the first age or something like that. We're in the third age now. It's like, dude, like, and he's just kind of like, whatever. Do you want some booze?
I love that. That's fantastic.
Okay, alien. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. I love this guy. I wanna stick him somewhere in my world so bad. And I'm also getting, because I've been listening to a lot of Worlds Beyond Number, and so their whole thing is like, the spirit in the mortal realm. I feel like Tobias would be like friends with Ame the Witch. Like Ame the Witch has got to have Tobias the naiad on speed dial somewhere, and it's like, oh, come to my inn, and the halflings are all running the business parts, and then all the spirits are hanging around as they're getting nice drinks and waiting to go on to their next thing, sort of a thing.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a true mark to know if that shows up in a future episode of Worlds Beyond Number, because one of the cast members or crew listens to this episode and is like, hey, you know what? Maybe Brendan should add this to his game. Who knows? But all right. So now is the part where I say, and now we get to go back to some dice rolling, because we like all of our NPCs to have a valuable on their person. So what is a valuable item, piece of lore, secret, or ideal or concept that Tobias would ascribe to? And this is a combination roll where we get to do a D4 for the category, and then we
Okay.
get to do a D6 for the particular thing.
All right. I got a 1 on the D4 and a 6 on the D6.
Okay, perfect. Well, your answer was provided to us by previous guest Brian Rose. So Tobias has a staff of shielding as his valuable item. Yeah, tell me more. Why does Tobias have this? How did he come into possession?
Yeah, a staff of shielding. And what use would he have for it? Like, immortal river spirit from the Feywild, like, doesn't really feel a sense of threat from the world around them.
Is it a treasure that he claimed from the river?
Maybe, yeah.
Or something from the Feywild that he grabbed? Like, he thought of it as like a walking stick. It was just like, I'm just going to go on my way.
Yeah. Yeah, in my head, it's purely sentimental value for Tobias. Like, he knows it's a magic item. He knows it's a magic item that people would probably really like to have, but he likes it. It's his favorite stick, I guess.
He subscribes to the official Stick Reviews Instagram channel. He's like, hey, Stick Nation, I've got this stick. And people are like, wait a minute, that's a staff of shielding. Tobias, what are you talking about? It's like, no, this is a cool stick I found in the river, guys. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay, that's fantastic.
That, or he has a really good friend from the Feywild when he got that wanderlust of like, oh, I want to see what else is out there. And his friend, maybe it was a satyr or it was a bullywug or whatever it could have been in the Feywild, was like, well, it's really dangerous to go out there, so I want you to have my favorite stick. And he's like, okay, I'll take this stick with me. And then maybe that's how it's sentimental to him if you don't want to make it. So, it just randomly washed up in the river and he took it and then is like, great, this is mine.
Yeah, I like that better as sentimental value, like an old friend from the Feywild. That's good.
Okay, yeah, and then we leave it open-ended, so whichever dungeon master is like needs to tie Tobias into whichever player character's backstory is like, oh yeah, that one person from the Feywild is best friends with Tobias and gave him this staff of shielding, and then the player characters are trying to convince Tobias to, hey, you should really hand over that staff of shielding because my grandmother really wanted me to have it, even though my grandmother was friends with you 6,000 years ago in the Feywild. That sort of thing.
Time is weird in the Feywild.
Yes, as one Ashley Johnson says, time is a weird soup.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, and now, we like all of our NPCs to have bright gold exclamation points over their head as quest givers. So now we get to roll for the last dice and generate the random side quests that Tobias would be willing to offer to a bunch of heroes or player characters to go and do on his behalf. So to determine this, you would roll the final dice, which is the D12.
Okay. 7.
Okay, interesting. Provided to us today by Nicole, the Game Master Mom. This side quest prompt says, my sibling went missing mysteriously. Can you go find them?
Oh, that implies that Tobias has siblings. Interesting.
Yeah. Is the staff of shielding from the sibling, maybe?
Oh, could be. Okay, so Tobias is a river spirit. So you have to assume that their sibling is probably also a river spirit.
Okay.
How do you lose a river?
I think lots of environmentalists ask that question. And, global warming or climate change or beavers, rock slides, I'm sure make rivers disappear all the time.
Actually, yeah, finding out, like, going to look for their sibling and finding out that there's, like, a new dam that Tobias didn't know about, and their sibling is just stuck on the wrong side of the dam. Like, there could be something there. I've been on adventures involving dams. I've died on dams before. Weirdly, more than once.
And then, of course, you have the sibling that can deliver, like, the best fish joke. Dad here struggling for a dad joke. Basically, the punchline being, like, the fish said, damn it, or something like that, because of hitting the head. The river spirit's trying to get through. It's just like, ow. It's like, yes, that's what's blocking your way to be able to get going to where you need to go. oh, is that what it is? So, but it's like, oh, but then you're like, I'm sure the river spirit's a little more intelligent than that, unless it's like some sort of arcane dam or block or something like that. Like a big Snorlax is just sitting in the river and preventing the water from moving or something.
Well, it's that alien quality. So like they've been in this river for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, and then one day there's just a dam. And like, I don't know, it probably took humans a couple of years to build it, but from their perspective of time, that's nothing. Like they turned around one century, turned around the next century, and there's a dam there. And how do I get now? What do I do? Never seen one of these before.
Right, yeah,
Like,
because the
yeah, it could
Feywilds,
be.
yeah, the Feywild, the rivers,
Yeah.
I like to imagine fantastically, the rivers are like, oh, there's an obstacle. I'm just literally going to bend space and time to like just move myself wherever I
Yeah.
need to go, even if that means like cartoonishly like over a rock to then continue on or something.
That is the cartoon physics.
Yeah, and then you come to the mundane world, and there's like, even though Dylan from Kill Every Monster likes to say, if you can cast Fireball, then physics is not real in the world of D&D. It's like, okay, maybe
Fair.
there's some light physics-esque about like, okay, well, water has to flow with the speed of gravity or where the path of least resistance is, and if there's a dam, well, suddenly water can't move past it, and river spirits be confused because they're like, this is very alien to me and I don't understand why this is here. Like the earth just changed, and okay, well, I guess we'll just have to find another way around without actually taking the time to maybe stop and fight it. Or unless, maybe this sibling is leading some kind of like one man campaign against the dam, and the people on the dam are fighting him. Like, and so that's why the
Oh,
other, our friend Tobias just doesn't know. Meanwhile, their sibling is like battle hardened and like, I'm the fury of nature and I will bring this thing down. But there's like wizards and artificers and whoever else that are like, no, it's critically important that we keep this dam up in order to, get whatever we need to with the waterway dammed up or whatever. I
I
don't know.
like it.
There's a couple of different ways you could take this. We like
Yeah,
to leave some wiggle room, but hopefully there's some good ideas there for your game, your backstory or whatever, that you can take it and run a couple ways. Certainly, if you want to lay the law down and definitively declare why the sibling has gone missing, you can certainly do that too.
I like that. That's fun.
Okay, so that the sibling is trapped behind a dam and is actually trying to fight, but can't
Hmm.
overcome the obstacle.
Yeah, I like your idea of just leaving it up to the DM what that fight looks like. Like maybe they are just slowly beating their head against the wall over centuries and waiting for something to happen, or maybe they're actually like maybe they're fighting people. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, like a guerrilla sort of a warfare, a war of attrition or something,
yeah.
if you will, like a bunch of, well, because I know at least in my game of where I would drop this, because there is a mercenary faction of high level spellcasters that are basically doing a Saruman, and they're exploiting the forest, which is heavily full of Feywild-esque aligned, but in the mundane world sort of creatures. And so definitely something like this of like, oh, the sibling is trapped behind a river that's been dammed by these arcane mercenaries. And can't the spirit can't do it alone. And Tobias, meanwhile, is in a different part of the continent with another river, just being like, I'm living my best life. Like, I wonder where my sibling is. Oh well. And then is just alienated, just is like, I guess I'll hear from my sibling at some point in time. Okay.
When you live on the geological scale, yeah,
Yeah,
you'll hear from them at some point.
you'll hear from them at some point. So, okay, so we have this prompt for our side quest, and so we like to examine it from both sides of the equation. So, however it gets brought up, whether because based on the character we have in mind, I don't know if Tobias seems like he's rather he's like pressing on this of like, or if he's just kind of ambient dialogue, just musing aloud, and the player characters happen to hear like, oh, I wonder what happened to my sibling. It's been a while since I heard from them. Oh well, go back to make alcohol. And if the player characters press and get the mission, yada yada. However it happens, the player characters go on this mission. They find where the sibling is and whatever adventure entails there. But once they find they locate the missing sibling, and then they report back to Tobias of like what happened. How is Tobias going to reward the party for their efforts?
Well, To my mind, Tobias really owns two things. He owns that cool staff, which he's not going to give up, and he owns the still. So he's producing spirits. He knows that mortals like the spirits, so just a large quantity of those. And honestly, that's a perfectly fine trade good. You could just take it to the next town over and sell it for gold.
True. And is there anything special about the spirit that he's making? This moonshine, does it have any interesting or unique properties, or is it just like he's really good at making moonshine? This is like the best moonshine that you're ever gonna get. You're gonna drink a whole gallon of this, and you're gonna wake up like a week later wondering what you've done with your life.
You know, you could really go either way with that. Like, you could make it really good, or you could just make it cartoonish, cheap swill. And like, its only value is in the fact that it is readily available and there is a lot of it.
Mm.
And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just kind of curious on your take. Would you rather make it like the most, like it's the most unassuming place, it's like a rundown place, but the halflings are working on making it look, business presentable. But do you think it's like, again, borrowing from a video game franchise, is it like Fallout 76? I'm drinking Nuka Shine. I see a bunch of weird colors. I black out and I randomly appear at another point on the map. Or is it, oh, it's just really cheaply made. It's maybe not the best, but you know what? If you drink enough of it, it doesn't matter.
What if it was random? What if it was like 1 in 10 servings? Like something wild happened. Most of the time, it's just completely normal, but like 1 in 10, something odd happens.
Ooh, so like a wild magic effect or something like that? Oh,
Like,
right, because he's from the Feywild, so that would make sense.
Yeah. And just
okay,
like very like low level wild magic stuff though. So like you drink it and I don't know, your hair color changes, or like flowers pop out of your ears or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be fun, because then if you wanted to telegraph that to your players, it's like, oh, we have like, 10 people, like regular patrons in the bar, and you see one of them has like, blue hair and grass growing on his feet, and some other weird stuff happening because he just keeps drinking it. And he just keeps having more wild magic effects going off on him until the drink has successfully passed through his digestive system.
Perfect.
Okay. But otherwise, it's just really good moonshine.
Yeah. Those halflings that live in the area are probably going to look so weird from just having been around the moonshine effects so much.
Interesting. So you think that plays into, this group of the halflings is like they may not even look like normal halflings, like they look like very strange indeed sort of halflings.
Some of them are too tall, some of them are too short. They're all funny colors. Their clothes look all weird. Some of them can only walk backwards. Like, yeah, just random cartoonish magical nonsense.
Well, this is definitely where I would stick in an MCDM issue from Arcadia, 1 and a halfling. So a large category size halfling who's just like, oh yeah, I've drank some of this stuff. It's really good, but I ended up like this, So it's like a large category halfling walking around, and then the rest of them are all like normal small category halflings walking around and stuff, but just one really big halfling.
Yeah.
Just he's the one that gets to lift up all the heavy stuff. They're all like, like Jumbo, you're the, like that's his nickname. Although ironically, if he already was named Jumbo and then he's the one that became super big, they're like, Jumbo, you're the one, you lift up the bed and carry it upstairs or whatever. He's like, all right.
I love the idea of 1 and a halfling as a name. That's great.
Yeah, that comes from an issue of Arcadia from MCDM's production. So if you haven't checked that one out, that's real fun. I have a couple of those in my campaign. They're a treat.
Nice.
Okay, so we have a good idea of like what the reward's going to be. So magical moonshine, 1 in 10 chance that a wild magic effect goes off when you drink it. So that's pretty cool. Oh, if every drink or every sip? Because certainly if you sit there long enough and you sip it, like
Yeah, I'd say every time you're served, there is a 1 in 10 chance. So, like, every time you fill a glass, 1 in 10. Doesn't matter how big the glass is. Like, it really does not matter. Like,
Okay.
enormous bowl still only counts as 1.
Okay. It still only counts as 1. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. We got that cleared up. But now we have to consider the opposite. What's going to be the consequence of failure or refusing the call to the adventure? So in this case, I know we talked about, oh, he's, maybe ambient NPC dialogue. And if you go up to him and talk to him about it, but then you're just kind of like Baldur's Gate 3, oh, I'm going to skip over the dialogue, whatever. Or like you go to help or discover the truth, but like you can't find the truth, you can't help the sibling, you report back to Tobias and you have to hang your head in shame, or you just proudly boast that yeah, sorry, couldn't help. What's going to be the consequence of failure or refusal?
Ecological devastation to a place that the party cares about.
Because of the dam.
Yes. So maybe they have a long-term drought, maybe some like important local plant or animal disappears. Like maybe there's some like critical herb that you need to make healing potions in the area or something, and because the ecology changed because of the dam, suddenly the herb doesn't grow and now you can't buy healing potions.
You took out the one water source where this particular community of bees thrived, and now you can't pollinate the crops, and there's a famine. Good job for not helping out. You should care about bees.
This is why they do ecological studies before they build stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When we're kids, we don't even think about that sort of kind of stuff. But then when you're an adult, you're like, no, we have to care about bees and trees and fleas and whatever else rhymes with that. Yeah. Because eventually it all will, if you shake up or, mess with too many things, you're going to throw everything out of whack.
Yeah.
Okay, so an ecological disaster. Interesting. So that would be like a very long game for a dungeon master to play out with their players. It's just like, okay, all right, well, you're going to continue to ignore this thing longer and longer, and then you get to like kind of tease it out as far as like, oh, really weird. Like there's no healing potions in this area. Oh, the crops are not looking too good, and like, oh, suddenly everyone's all sickly and they can't figure out why. And it's all because this one river is dammed up and it's not feeding the area with nutrient water and all that stuff, because that's what that spirit, the sibling spirit, was in charge of making sure happened. But now it can't happen because the dam is damned and thus has damned the land.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we've made it through all of what I feel are the necessary questions to kind of discover an NPC and NPC creation. But we have more optional questions if you feel like you wish to know more about Tobias and explore all of his facets. Or do you feel like Tobias is a really good character now and you just want to head into the next part of the show?
Honestly, I'm really happy with Tobias. Like, he's got a community around him. He's got a little bit of a backstory. He's got a family. Like, somehow an afterlife thing happens around him. So, like, there's stuff around Tobias going on, and he's this like weird puddle at the middle of all of these other things.
Okay. Well, we've got our spooky cozy inn and brewery operation going on, and now I think it's time to head into a random encounter. This random encounter is brought to you by my sponsor, Zencastr. How do I use Zencastr? Well, that's the service that I'm using right now to be able to record my episodes of the podcast. It's what allows me to capture it all, put it into my editing machines on my new computer to get it processed and put forth onto the interwebs and podcast land for you all to enjoy. I was able to take part of this service, all thanks to my buddies Benjamin Huffman and Dane Fox McGraw over at the Dispel Magic podcast. And, if you were at this time in your life wondering what can I be doing? What sort of hobbies or things that I could be branching out to? Well, I'm here to talk to you today about Zencastr. It's so easy. It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen. Knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. You can sound your best. Have you ever wondered what you might sound like? Well, Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically works to remove those filler words in your recordings, and it makes those awkward pauses in conversation dip out as well. You can set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with a click of a button. It's all in one, so if you've thought about podcasting before and realize that you need a lot of different tools and services these days, in order to do a podcast, well, I can assure you that those days are done. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute it to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SIDEKQPodcast, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Again, go to zencastr.com/pricing, use my code SIDEKQPodcast, get that 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. Thank you so much for listening to this ad and for supporting the sponsor. It helps to support the show. And without further ado, on with the podcast. All right. So now this is the part of the show where we get to do a bit of role play, a vignette, a scene with the character that we've made here today, and with Tobias to be handled by Tyler. The question I have is, what sort of character am I going to be in this scene? Am I going to be one of my adventurer characters who's going to stumble upon the inn and get this side quest? Am I going to be one of the many aforementioned but yet nameless halflings that's interacting with Tobias? Or am I just a spirit who's on his way and finds this inn and learns the story of this place? Or I don't know, what sort of scene are you interested in highlighting, showcasing, boasting, bragging off for Tobias?
Oh, you're gonna make me play out a character. Okay, yeah, let's go for Spirit of the Dead. Why not?
Okay, all
maybe
right.
a dead adventurer.
Ooh, a dead adventurer.
Yeah,
I haven't done one of those. I don't know. Interesting. Okay, let's see.
Who's your least favorite character in your regular party?
Oh, I don't want to do that. I do want to turn it on you as far as RPG bot. You know,
Okay.
could you, off the top of your head, or maybe with a quick resource lookup, I want to find the worst combination of for 5e race and player character class, like a 1-star, a definitive 1-star that combo that I could put up, and this will be our dead adventurer spirit.
Lightfoot halfling barbarian.
Interesting. So a Lightfoot halfling barbarian
Yes.
is a 1-star class or a 1-star combo.
Your race says strength. Sorry, your race says dexterity and stealth. Your class says strength and direct action, and those two things do not work together a lot of the time.
Okay. All right. So we have a Lightfoot halfling barbarian. Do we have a name? Should we go to a random name fantasynamegenerator.com?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, fantasy. They're not a sponsor of this podcast, but if they would like to be, I would love to have them be a sponsor, because you know what? Like RPG Bot, they are an invaluable resource to this community. So let's see. Halfling. I need halfling names. Halfling names. Okay. And let's see. Do you have a preference if it is a male or female
Not at all.
spirit that is passed on? Okay. Well, then I'm going to use my handy dandy patented surefire way of determining this with a coin flip, because you know what, I also like to live by randomness sometimes. Coin flip says 2, which means female.
Okay.
So I'm gonna click this a few times and let's look down the list and what sounds like but I want it to be a name that I can say.
The classic problem with fantasy names. Does it look fancy? Does it look fantasy enough? Yes. Can you pronounce it? No. How many apostrophes are in there? Who can say?
All right. I think I have this narrowed down. If I just, you just click it a few more times, mix it up a little bit. Oh, well, I guess that would be kind of funny because of like a pen, like a pun sort of in the name, but it looks like Sorry Ten Eyes, and the first name Saree. So I would pronounce that Sorry, or is it
Yeah.
Sari?
I've known people named Sorry with that spelling.
Okay, so Sorry Ten Eyes is so ten Eyes would be the surname of the halfling clan, but her name is Sorry Ten Eyes. She's the Lightfoot halfling barbarian who is no more. She's a spirit. Okay, and so she's going to stumble upon this inn. Do we have a name for this inn?
Oh,
Or would Tobias even think to give it an inn? Or would the halflings just give it a name?
I feel like the halflings would never be able to agree on a permanent name, so it just kind of became known as the Inn by the River.
Okay, the inn by the river. Okay. All right. All right. I've got the name. And then,
All right. Okay. Tobias is outside the still. A An arrangement of tables are set out, as is standard for the beautiful summer day that we're experiencing, and Tobias is setting out empty cups on the tables in anticipation of the spirits of the dead joining for the evening. The halflings are milling about in various crowds of non-determinate size. Some of them come to the tables, some of them leave the tables, some of them are on the tables, under the tables, everywhere. Really just halflings, anywhere you look. But as the sun starts to move down towards the horizon, the sky darkens ever so slightly, and then the spirits of the dead begin to materialize and take seats here and there at the tables with drinks already laid out in front of them.
yeah, and I think sorry Ten Eyes, she was a relatively young Lightfoot halfling barbarian. She felt this rage in her life and she was new to an adventuring party. And, being a one-star build according to RPG bots, she was not long for this world when she was quick and nimble and fast, but she didn't have the strength of muscle to really cleave through those goblins like she wanted to in that first level adventure. And so she got wiped out. And so she's here on this night, on this evening, and she's confused. She's puzzled. She doesn't quite know what to make of her life and her station. The last thing she knew was she was in the fight of her life and she was working her way through goblins, and her other companions just kind of took off without her, and she felt her body being dragged away. And then she woke up outside the cave and just started wandering along the river. And it's been some time, but she eventually has found her way here to the inn by the river. And so she's just looking around confused, and she's just, I don't know, she feels like she's out of place even when she sees there's other spirits and she sees other halflings. So she's definitely in a place of she's looking and feeling very confused and conflicted.
All right. I, as Tobias, will sit down at the table across from you and gently nudge the cup in front of you a little bit closer. Say, I think I remember you. You're one of the halflings. I remember you being alive recently, though. What happened?
Yeah, I was on my adventure. I was with a party. We had left town and we walked 3 days and nights to get to the goblin hideout. And the wizard set off a trap. And then the last thing I knew was I was having to fight my way out of there. And then, oh, then everything went cold and dark. And I was being dragged away, and my friends were running off screaming the other direction. And she holds the drink and she's like, "Why didn't they come back for me?"
Well, listen, I am a river spirit of very little wisdom. I can tell you about rivers and I can tell you about spirits, and really only those two things. And I can't tell you what is in the spirits of adventurers, but I do see a lot of you folk come through this way, and stuff happens. That's all I got for you. Look, I make spirits, not wisdoms. So tough break, kid.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like a persuasion check that maybe doesn't go
Yeah.
quite as well, like a critical fail. And she's just kind of taking it now. She's like kind of sullen and sad, but she accepts the cup of the spirit, and so she goes through the motion of drinking it, thinking it's not going to work, but for whatever Feywild magic-ish reason, she's able to like interact with the cup and bring it to her lips, and she gets a surprised look on her face, like she can taste it. And then she's like smacking her lips, and she's like, what would have been her tongue, and she's like trying to get notes or hints, and she's looking around at the scene. Maybe her eyes are kind of sparking up a little bit as she's getting brave, or she's like, finding revelry, and she's finding happiness and joy, and like the easygoingness of a river. And so then she's like, oh, I remember, or this tastes like. And so she starts describing like intangible things, like what are sorts of intangible Feywild sorts of things that Tobias would bring into making these spirits that she would taste.
The feeling of putting your hot, weary feet into a cool river.
Yeah. Okay, so she gets that sensation, and she starts to laugh, and maybe she starts to go off on telling a story about like how she used to go down to the pond in the hamlet where all she and her 10 eyes family clan lived. And so she starts recounting like something about like a pleasant summer day of like just spending it by the pond and the river with her cousins and her kin and just having a good time. She takes another sip, and maybe like some other aspect or thing is coming to her mind. What else is she getting notes of or tasting?
Watching the sun go down over like a just a rolling distant field from the comfort of your own front door.
Mm, yeah, probably another memory with her parents, and them just trying to like really instill in her like this is our life, like it's idyllic, it's a quiet hamlet, we farm, we're simple people. But there was that rage or whatever inside of Sorry, and she like felt like there was more to her. She felt conflicted. She was like, I know I'm tough and I can do this stuff, but like she wasn't obviously built that way, and she just couldn't make sense of why she was or what she was. But at least she has the memory to think of like her parents, and so in this moment she's able to like recall the faces of her parents before she really, that was like the last time she like really had a good heart to heart with them before she went off on her adventure. And maybe like the final third sip, she feels like herself coming to acceptance of accepting her death and getting ready on her journey of purgatory onto the afterlife. She takes that last sip. What's the last note or thing that she's picking up on?
Uh the last note, something that would be personally comforting for her. So like the feeling of her favorite axe, like the comforting weight in her hand as she travels.
Yeah. She reaches over to like the spiritual manifestation of like what her axe felt like, and her mind cinematically flashes back to like when she first got this axe. She found like the one dwarven adventurer who stopped by their hamlet, and just was like, he tossed this axe around thinking like, oh, this is garbage, this is a mundane one, I've got like a magic one now, and just kind of toss it off into the side of a road. But she was following, and she snuck up and she took it and she held it in her hands, and she doesn't know why, but she loved this, and this is the one that she kept with herself. And you know maybe that was like her first ominous sign from the gods that should have been, this was not what you should have done. But she couldn't help it, she loved it, and that's what she wanted. And so she finally has that moment of realization, of acceptance, maybe like tears, starting spectral tears in her eyes as she's finally coming to this acceptance and like this time. And so she starts to really finish the drink, and she can feel herself like feeling that sense of comfort, of peace, and she's getting ready to face the purgatorial road on to judgment, and to figure out where she's going to end up after all said and done. But she looks over at Tobias. She can see other spirits that are like her, like taking their sips and they're moving on and disappearing. Some that are lingering longer, and the halflings are all bustling about. But she's looking over for Tobias for like some last words of wisdom, even though he said he's not one of wisdom. But she's just kind of looking to him like a friend in this moment, and she's just gonna maybe say something to the effect of like, maybe, my mama told me things about like bad lucks and bad signs, and I should have listened to her when I joined up with this group of adventurers, but maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe it brought me to this place and to this drink, and to remembering those things about my life that were good when I thought for so long that maybe things weren't good. But I don't know. Friend, is there any last thing that you can tell me before I feel like I need to go?
Now my wisdom as Tyler is failing me. I don't know what the drinks are like in heaven, but I hear they're good.
I think that makes her smile and start to laugh. And the tears are still there, but I think she's laughing and she's remembering her halfling gods and the teachings and sayings, and she gets that courage that she needs. So she finishes the drink, she turns the glass upside down, she gets up to start walking, and then she just dissolves through the wall. And as the scene closes and the camera is like on Tobias, how is he thinking? What's he feeling? What's he saying in this moment now that sorry Ten Eyes has now passed on?
Tobias will reach over to her cup, lift it up ever so slightly, and a fluorescently colored butterfly flies out from under the cup. And he looks into the cup and says to himself, 1 in 10. Still 1 in 10 after all these years. And puts it down, gets up, goes back to the still.
And scene. So there we go. There was sorry Ten Eyes, probably maybe her first and only appearance, but then Tobias. So what did you think it was like getting to be Tobias? And maybe you're not the most you're not like a voice actor or something like that.
No.
You're an engineer guy, but you were able to DM a wonderful NPC. And so how was that like?
Gosh. Okay, have you seen Arrested Development?
Yes.
Okay, so I was trying so hard to not just default to Tobias Funke. Like, just in my head, I'm blue David Cross. It's like, no, you can't do a David Cross impression. You don't know how to do that.
Oh, well, now part of me has just thought of the perfect GIF to promote this episode. It's just going to be him in the shower crying in the blue because he's a water spirit. He's a river spirit.
Beautiful.
Yep. Oh, we went from cozy, spooky to blue David Cross crying in the shower from Arrested Development. We've run the gamut.
Yep. Honestly, that is what it's like when I run a game. Just no matter what it is, it always devolves into just comical silliness, and I love that.
Yeah. And I think we love that in our games too. You gotta have some silliness with the serious, which is what a good Feywild character should do, is inject a little bit of silliness, a little bit of fairy tale, a little bit of like, trickster, haunting, sort of otherworldly vibes. Can go either way, good and bad. But yeah, should be a little bit of levity and injection of differentness in an otherwise mundane world. So
yeah,
I love Tobias, and I love the inn by the river and the halflings and the spirits, and I think that's really cool. I think we made something really special, and especially since it's Halloween time, I really hope that maybe someone running a spooky, cozy one shot might be inspired and would love to hear you all talk about it and share it online, social media, tag us both, and tell us how your cozy, spooky one shot went with Tobias the Naiad. Yeah, so this is the final thoughts section of the show. So I always like to just, check in with the guest and, see how your time was on the podcast and get your notes and your feedback and all that stuff before we do the final wrap up. So yeah, just looking for a big brother advice and feedback from the more senior creative here from the internet. Yeah.
This was a good time. The format is fun. I like that you have the structure of like how you're building the NPCs, and you have the random tables to throw in some surprises. So I'm not just coming in like loaded with an NPC that I already had. Like I never would have created Tobias intentionally. Like I never would have landed on that. That's one of the reasons I love random tables so much, because like the ideas are there. I can put something together, but like you get me rolling with the random tables and I'm going to come up with something that's so much more novel than something that I could get if I just stared at a blank sheet of paper for long enough until something fell out. So like the format works. The random tables are good. I love that your Patreon supporters are contributing ideas. Like, yeah, it works.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And you know, sometimes you go through life and every once in a while, you know, you do stumble upon a Tobias, the river spirit, in some shape or form. There may only be one of them in the world, but the fact that they're there means something special. You know, that they were put there, they were created, and they inhabit that space and they make it their own. And they bring joy and wonder to the world. And when we all are so caught up in our day to day and the news and the mundane and whatever else, it's just nice to be able to be surprised once in a while by the people that are in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're here. It's the final thoughts. It's the point now where I give the microphone, the stage, and the soapbox over to you, Tyler, and whatever you've got to plug. Where can people find you online? Any passions or projects or causes we need to be made aware of? Let us know. This is your time to shine.
Sure. Well, you'll find me on rpgbot.net. You'll find me on TikTok, rpgbotdotnet, because almost everywhere I go, RPGbot is taken. Apparently, the acronym RPGbot means something in several East Asian languages, which was a fun thing to find out like years after I picked it. So yeah, rpgbotdotnet, and then Blue Sky, rpgbot.net.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. I can't wait to have you back on making even more interesting NPCs.
Sounds good.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Overcast, or YouTube, or feel free to save the RSS feed to use the app or player of your choice. Visit our website, sidekicksandsidequests.com, for links, write-ups of the NPCs, and to learn more about the show and the guests who have been on it. To stay up to date and interact via social media, you can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram/Threads, Twitter/X, and Reddit by searching for SideKQ Podcast. You can also find our small Discord community as well online. I would love to talk D&D and showcase your fan art, stories of how you used our NPCs, discussions, and commentary. And hey, if you'd like to hail the bard and send me a message, an email, you can do so by communicating with sidekicksandsidequests@gmail.com. To help this show be the resource it's meant to be, I ask that you leave a review on iTunes, 5 stars, please, to help spread the word and share our podcast with your friends and family. Whether you're a veteran player or an aspiring dungeon master, there's something here for everyone, and I want to hear about it. As mentioned in the NPC creations section of the podcast, I do in fact have a Patreon for Sidekicks and Sidequests. If you love this podcast and what we're trying to do here, I would appreciate it if you would just go to the website, patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests. No matter your lifestyle expenses, we have wonderful rewards at every level of Patreon membership tier. Modest, comfortable, wealthy, and aristocratic accommodations await, and we welcome all patrons to the Levitating Platter. Seriously, your financial support allows for this passion project to continue to invest in itself through the tools that will take our production to the next level, as well as provide more content for our patrons and the community at large. Please consider supporting me on Patreon if you can.
Sidekicks and Sidequests is unofficial fan content permitted under the fan content policy.
Meaning I'm not approved or endorsed by Wizards.
Portions of the materials used are property of Wizards of the Coast.
Copyright Wizards of the Coast,
LLC.
Thank you for your support, and I'll see you at the pub next time.
Bar to rock on 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sidekicks and Sidequests.